Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Estimate and Taxation for January 28th, 2026. I'm Steve Brandt, President of the Board. Before we begin the meeting, I would like to ask the clerk to read our reminder on diction.
Before we begin the meeting, I want to offer a friendly reminder to all members, staff, and the public that these meetings are broadcast live to enable greater public participation. These broadcasts include real-time captioning as a further method to increase the accessibility of our proceedings to the community. Therefore, all speakers need to be mindful of the rate of their speech so that our captioners can fully capture and transcribe all comments for the broadcast. We ask all speakers to moderate the speed and clarity of their comments.
This time I'll ask the clerk to call the roll so we may verify the presence of a quorum.
Member Chugtai is absent. Fry.
Here.
Olson is absent. Payne.
Present.
Vice President Bernstein.
Present.
President Brandt.
Present.
There are 4 members present.
Let the record reflect we have a quorum. I will now acknowledge that we meet today on land of the Dakota and the Ojibwe, and I will also add the acknowledgement of the historical trauma caused by the dispossession of that land. We'll now proceed to our agenda, a copy of which was posted for public access at the city's Legislative Information Management System, which is available at lims.minneapolismn.gov. And board members, the agenda for today's meeting is before us, but I am going to suggest at the mayor's request that we move an item 6 down behind items 5 and 7 so that we can get the voting items out of the way first. May I have a motion to that effect?
So moved. Seconded.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Have a proper motion. With that, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right. The ayes have it, and the agenda is adopted. Next is the acceptance of minutes from the December 10th, 2025 regular meeting and the January 14th, 2026 organizational meeting. May I please have a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Seconded.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Proper motion before us. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, the ayes have it, and the minutes are accepted as presented. Item 4 on our agenda is the acceptance of public comment, and we do not have anyone signed up to testify before the board on an item on our agenda today. Reminder that you have the opportunity to speak at any board meeting on an item that's on that meeting's agenda. Our next item is a bit of unfinished business from December, the bond proceeds reallocation resolution that, pursuant to the rules, the vote was insufficient for when it was considered in December, and the matter was referred to this meeting. The body will now reconsider this item, and I'll ask David Wheeler from Banking, Investments, and Debt to lead the presentation.
Good afternoon, President Brandt and Commissioners. I'm Dave Wheeler, Senior Manager of Banking, Investments, and Debt. I have 2 items before you today. The first, unfinished business from the December 10th meeting. Just a quick refresher. This is related to the annual project closeouts for Public Works, the bond reallocation, bond proceed reallocations related to those project closeouts. Included in your packets and up on the screen are the projects and amounts being affected here. With this resolution, this is a concurring resolution to council action taken in November of 2025. President Brandt, I do believe Public Works submitted a written response to some of your questions this week. We do have a representative of Public Works with us today if there are any additional questions you would like to ask. With that, I'll stand for any questions on this matter and then move on to the next.
All right. Are there any questions or comments? Okay. Seeing none, I will proceed. I read the memo from Public Works, and this is not directed at you, David, but I wanted to say that I'm somewhat chagrined that when the council votes on a bonding resolution or bonding authorization, I should say, in December of one year with the construction season just 4 months ahead, that Public Works doesn't alert people ahead of time when a project is going to be pulled. When we sell bonds, we pay interest, and I don't think we should be paying interest on projects that aren't going to go ahead. And I know that at least 4 members of this body depend on protected bike lanes for part of their commuting, and they're a significant safety issue. I hate to take money away from a protected bike lane, and I'll leave it at that, but I'm hoping in the future we can have more care exercised in what departments request be sold for bonds. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none. Let's see, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, second. Any further discussion? Okay. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Member Fry.
Aye.
Payne.
Aye.
Vice President Bernstein.
Aye.
President Brandt.
Aye.
There are 4 ayes.
Okay, the resolution is approved. Up next is item that was originally on our agenda as number 7, and that is the bond proceeds reallocation resolution. And I'll once again ask Mr. Wheeler from Banking, Investments, and Debt to lead on this item.
An additional bond proceed reallocation resolution. This went before council and was approved in December. And this is related to Water Project 35 bond. The project had been bonded for. Subsequent to bonding, the water project was revealed that it qualified for tax credits. However, the project needs to be paid from water revenues itself and can't use bond proceeds in order to utilize those tax credits. So in order to spend these bond proceeds, we do have the best course of action here is to reallocate these proceeds. These will be moved to Water 12, the Water Distribution Improvement Project, to finance additional project expenses in that program. So this is a unique situation in that the Water 35 project is not being closed out, but the bond proceeds aren't effectively used there. So we are moving them out to be spent in another project and help us comply with IRS regulations related to spending bond proceeds. So this is just the only matter here, total of just over $2 million in bond proceeds being moved.
Okay, do my colleagues have any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, may I have a motion to accept Resolution 2026-002?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
We have a proper motion before us. Any discussion? Okay, with that, will the clerk please call the roll?
Member Fry.
Aye.
Payne.
Aye.
Vice President Bernstein.
Aye.
President Brandt.
Aye.
There are 4 ayes.
And I didn't think about this before. Oh, so the motion passes. And I'm wondering if we should skip to number 8 to take that a little bit out of order, simply because Mr. Wheeler is here and it's a bond transmittal item. The issuance of tax-exempt general obligation bonds to be considered for issuance at a future meeting. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Okay. I believe, Mr. Wheeler, this is for assessment at the Upper Harbor Terminal for about 2 blocks of parkway to be built. The only question I had was, when I looked at the county property lookup, I noted that the land on one side of this parkway is now listed as CPED land, and the land on the other side is listed as Park Board land. And do we essentially assess ourselves in that circumstance?
President Brandt, I would defer to probably the assessor's office or Public Works on that question. I'm not familiar with the specifics of this project. But.
Okay. I will then contact one of those entities. It's not something we're voting on today, but we will receive and file it if there are no other questions. And thank you for your presentations today. You are free to go. All right. And the clerk will receive and file that report. We are back to the City Controller's Quarter 3 report, continued from the December 10th, 2025 meeting. I'll ask George Hargrove from Finance to lead on this item. And I understand the mayor's time may be limited with us today because of other responsibilities. So if we run out of quorum, my intent would be to stay here with the meeting adjourned and ask the questions I have and spare the rest of you, and Mr. Hargrove can answer as best he's prepared. Okay, good. Thank you. Mr. Hargrove.
Yeah, good afternoon, Board of Estimation and Taxation, President Brandt, Vice President Bernstein, Commissioners. Thanks for having me today. My name is George Hargrove. I'm the City Controller. With me as well as Robert Lang, our Deputy Controller, who will talk about the general fund in particular. So just to kind of recalibrate where we're at right now, this is the presentation as of September 30th. So these forecasts are a few months old. I'll try to give a few updates at times for where we're at now.
Mr. Hargrove, if you could just hold for a minute.
Oh, sure,
The
yeah.
clerk, please note the arrival of Councilmember Chugtide. Welcome. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. Thanks, President Brandt. Just wanted to say that this is as of the end of September. Most of these forecasts were done in October, but like I say, I'll try to mention a few things as we go through the presentation here. Anyway, the information is unaudited. We will have final numbers in our annual financial comprehensive report. We've started working on that now, as well as our annual audit. Finance always recommends, we not make any decision, any final decisions on spending till all the numbers are final and things like that as well too. And then we'll have updated information approximately in April for the year-end fourth quarter report. So moving on to the highlights, the city continues to spend down its fund balances. At the end of the second quarter, when I was here in the summer, we had forecast a spend down of about $60 million or so in the general fund. This is now, as of October, it is like at $67.6 million, and it's now in the 70s now that we look at the books recently. So we continue to spend down on the general fund in particular, but a few of the other funds as well too. We still have a AAA bond rating from all the three major credit agencies. Property taxes are at the time were projected to be $17.4 million under budget. I will say that the budget is the full collectible, the whole amount that was levied. We always know that there'll be a certain percentage that's uncollectible, so we would never expect the budget to fully equal the actuals to fully equal the budget, because there's always going to be uncollectible amounts. We've been monitoring the local sales taxes, especially in our downtown asset fund. We see as of the end of September, or for the month of September, they're about a couple $1 million less than 2024. Since then, it does seem to have stabilized, but it still is under for the year, so we watch that. Police and fire combined we're projected to be about $25 million over budget. We do think it's going to be a little bit more than that now, maybe add a couple million to that as well too. Self-insurance fund continues to be above the minimum policy by $117 million. We've accumulated significant reserves to protect the city against legal losses. And of course, federal grants we also monitor as well due to many changes in the federal government and new terms and things like that. So we work on that monthly. Moving on for our financial highlights, we can see that our book value of our cash and investments as of September 30th is about $1.186 million. It's an increase of about $140 million over the September 2024 value. Most of that is, again, in self-insurance and in our enterprise funds, where they're held in reserve. If we look at some of the departments or some of the areas in the city that have either fund balance or cash reserves are projected to be under the minimum amounts in our financial policies. We list self-insurance just because that has a negative net position, but it is meeting all the short-term goals that are in our policy. Fleet, we're projecting that to be about 7.9 million as of the end of this year, which is above our target balance, but we do expect that in the years going forward to get below the minimum. They continue to catch up on purchasing vehicles. It was very difficult to purchase vehicles during the pandemic and shortly after that, and the costs have risen substantially as well, too. Our IT fund is projected to be about $8 million versus a target balance of $9.3 million. Again, that's mainly due to projects. The parking fund is improving. At year end, we expect it to be about $2 million below target, but we're hoping that it gets back into the targeted range, if not this year, next year. And then property services project to be about $2 million versus our target of about $4.6 million. Then the convention center is also under the target, but we don't feel that's a cause for concern because the downtown assets fund as a whole is pretty healthy, and we just need to transfer, do some transfers between the downtown asset funds and the convention center. I believe there was a resolution that came up earlier in 2025 that if we would have taken it out of the downtown asset funds, it wouldn't have affected the convention center. So we'll have to do a little adjustment there. At this point, I'll introduce Robert Lang, our Deputy Controller, to talk about the general fund. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you very much. So as a reminder, this is the quarter 3 forecast that was presented early December that we're going to be looking at right now. We, of course, have looked through the accounting numbers as of today as we gear up for our audit that we're currently being engaged in with the state. That will be going through until June when we expect to have our audit finalized. But with that, as a reminder for you as well, the general fund, the purpose of this fund is to account for all financial resources except for those that are required to be reported in other funds. Cash balance for this projection was projected to be $166 million versus the $234 million that we ended with at last year, showing a significant use of cash in 2025. The projected fund balance was $141 million at the end of quarter 3. As we'll get into with the numbers, we are seeing about $3 to $4 million more in expenditures than revenues collected based off that forecast. So that number has decreased since the quarter 3 forecast. This would still exceed our 17% minimum fund balance requirement, which would be $109 million based on policy. So looking at that unassigned fund balance, we'll see here that we started the year at $209 million in fund balance. We have forecasted revenues and expenditures with significant expenditures resulting in $141 million in remaining fund balance. As a reminder, we're looking about $3 to $4 million less now as we enter the year end. Then we have planned use of fund balance and other restrictions, showing $118 million in unassigned fund balance, now about $115 million to $114 million in unassigned fund balance. The target of $109 million, resulting in over the 17% minimum of $9.5 million, now about $6.5 to $6 million. So revenues. The revenues are coming in about forecasted right now. We still are waiting on franchise fees and certain property tax remittances to come in. However, the forecast from quarter 3 is lining up very closely. We'll see here that we were projected to be $18 million under budget in revenue, primarily driven by property taxes, franchise fees, and licenses and permits. How is this compared to prior years? Well, the 3-year average was about 100% of revenues that were budgeted were collected. Here in 2025, that is about 97%. So we're seeing a 3% decrease in what we budgeted versus what we collected, primarily driven by property taxes. So let's look at the other side. Yes, question.
Commissioner Bernstein.
Sorry, could you go back to that last slide real quick? Was this
Yes. So this table shows in blue the actuals, and then in the green is the 3-year average. So that's 24, 23, 22 of what we collected throughout the quarters. So the main one to be looking at, I suppose, would be the December 31st projected, and that's where we see the 3-year average is 100%. Now in 2025, we're just not collecting what we budgeted. And that's one of the driving factors of this minimum fund balance crunch that we're currently seeing right now.
And that's across all revenues?
That's across all revenue.
Okay, thank you.
Individual revenues is on the previous page, grouped up by major revenue category. So that $18 million forecasted, which is coming in pretty close, is driven by that 17 million property taxes. On the other side, we got expenditures. This is where we're seeing about $3 to $4 million more across all departments in expenditures than originally forecasted. Of which you will see there's 2 primary areas that are over budget. It would be public works as well as public safety. But we can get into the individual departments on a future slide. Might be more helpful. So similar to what we looked at with revenues, how are expenses coming in compared to prior year? Well, here we'll see blue is again actual of 2025, and green is the average, and it's inverse from what we saw on the revenue side. Historically, the 3-year average was 92% expenditures of what we budgeted, having about an 8% savings. In 2025, we're seeing 97% of what was budgeted to be expended, now probably 98% as we close out the year. Again, that impact is crunching the 17% minimum fund balance requirement. And this is the big spreadsheet. So this shows, and this is just the expenditure side, this shows on the first 2 columns the budgets, the year-to-date actual, and then the second blue column is our projection. And this was, of course, as of 2023 or quarter 3 that we presented. We do have some updated information based off of current accounting. We'll see here that if you combine public works as one department, we have 6 departments out of our 26 that are over budget. So let's go down that list. Attorney, $490,000. They're actually coming in a little better right now. We'll see how we end at year end, but they'll be probably very close to that amount. Assessing department and Office of Public Service, very similar story. They're staying about to the projected overage. I think $16,000 more for OPS, and assessing is almost right on. So then that brings us down to fire. Fire is currently about $1 million more than was on the projection there. Similarly with police, we're about $1 million to $1.5 million more than was forecasted. And then finally, we do have public works. Due to the snow emergencies, we have seen about a $2 million increase in their expenditures. So that's about that $4 million that we were looking at for additional expending than what we originally forecasted. The other departments, there are no other departments that are overspent. Every department, currently, let me tell you, currently, because we are in preliminary, there could be additional accruals, but as it stands today, the 6 that were over are still the 6 that are over. There's no one to be added to this list. With that, I will pass it back over to George. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Deputy Controller Lang. Before I move on to some of the other non-general funds, I wanted to just go back a couple slides here and talk a little bit about this slide right here. Just kind of give a little update on it. So as as Rob mentioned, we're basically calculating like how much money do we have left, in our general fund balances, and you can see the fund balance January 1st is $209 million. We forecasted revenues of about $645 million. That is holding right now. We do think that we'll end up just about there. The expenditures, however, we projected about $712. We think they'll be about $715 at this point. So that does make the forecasted balance go down somewhat. And then we've had, of course, we have to restrict some of that money too. So we've restricted 8.8 million or so for the planned use of fund balance. That's in the 2026 budget. So we have to reserve that money for to cover that. And then we also have some public safety aid, and then 3 million or so for the North Commons Park. So that's about 14 million. Now, since then, there's been some more budget amendments done that we think add about 1.5 million more that we're restricting money for that. So given all of that, I show, you compare it to our target of 109 million. So on this slide, as of October, we thought it was gonna be about 9.5 million. We're probably down to about 5 million right now or so, maybe a little bit over that. So that's kind of where we're trending. Obviously, as Rob says, we haven't closed the books yet. I will say that if you look at the third bullet point about the rollovers, we, as of right now, we have, asked the departments not to submit any rollover requests for the general fund, which would mean that they'd have to use their 2026 budget to complete anything from the 2025 budget or so. So just wanted to point that out. We feel we got to reserve anything and everything that's left, just to cover potential overruns in 2026. So anyway, moving on to the special revenue funds. These are funds that are generally restricted funds from certain external funding sources. They generally have like state restrictions or things on them. Some of our most significant ones are the downtown assets, the convention center, Target Center. Neighborhood and community relations has some restricted funds. Our grants are restricted, of course, either by the federal government or the state or any other private foundations. CPED has a special revenue funds as well too. So anyway, we project that the fund balance will go down about 3 million or so, which is up from our second quarter forecast, mainly because of CPED in the arenas. And then the cash balance kind of follows the same pattern. That's about a $4 million decrease, which is up from what we said in the second quarter, again, mainly due to CPED in the downtown assets. Otherwise, like I said before, these are generally restricted, and so we have to keep them in their own fund, separated from the general fund. And then just looking at the figures for the cash and fund balances, I tend to look at the column on the right there. You can see the convention center, we're forecasting the balances go down a couple million, as well as the downtown asset funds. And then you see CPED at the bottom is projected to go up. So that kind of offsets that. But overall, we're spending those down a little bit. Moving on to the internal service funds. This family of funds is primarily used to fund areas in the city or departments in the city that sell their services to other departments in the city as opposed to the general public. That includes our engineering materials and testing lab, fleet, property services, our stores, our IT, self-insurance as well too. So you can see in this case, our net position at the end of the year, we're projected to be about 21 million more than 24. Again, that's mainly due to self-insurance. Cash is also projected to go up about that much as well too, although most of the funds are going down that we'll see on the next slide there.
Excuse me, Mr. Hardgrove, Commissioner Payne.
Oh, yeah, Commissioner Payne.
Thank you, President. Thank you. I just had a question about the internal service charges. How frequently are we updating the cost allocation model, or do we have an update to that planned in any time in the near future?
Yeah, President Brandt, Commissioner Payne. Yes, we are actually updating those right now. We do it once a year. So we're updating it for 2027 right now. So we're working on new numbers for that.
So then, would that be finalized like by December, or is it usually a little bit earlier?
President Brandt, Commissioner Payne. Yes, it's generally quite a bit earlier than that. We work on that. That's really the first step of the budget process because we have to be able to inform the departments of what they're going to get charged. So they have to go first. Yeah, so we expect to have that finalized probably by early April or so.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Excuse me, we have Commissioner Eric, Commissioner Bernstein.
Commissioner Eric Works. Just a question on the internal service funds. I just want to make sure I'm understanding it correctly. So the net position improved in the self-insurance fund, but I think elsewhere in the report I also read that liabilities had increased. So is it correct to say that we covered the increase in liabilities with more like sufficient, that the overall net position improved despite the increase in liabilities? So it's two things moving at once, and then the net is to improve the position. Is that right?
President Brandt, Commissioner Bernstein. I'll have to check on that. We usually we calculate our liabilities each year.
Okay.
So I think we're in the process of doing that right now for the year end of 2025, but we don't have that quite figured out yet or anything. It's part of our year end process here. So I'd have to. I could definitely, if we do the fourth quarter, I can definitely comment more on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So anyway, as far as just looking at the details, as I mentioned, if you look on the right column, almost all the internal service funds are going down a little bit. The intergovernmental services, which is mainly IT, is certainly we project it going down about $5 million or so, but then self-insurance, the net positions going up about $27 million or so. That's our projection for the end of the year. And then finally, our enterprise funds. These are funds that are used to keep track of departments that generally sell their services or goods to the outside customers. So that includes mainly, these are almost all from Public Works, our sanitary sewer area, stormwater area, our water utility, solid waste, recycling, the parking, and then CPID has a real small enterprise fund. So for those ones, they're generally very healthy. We can see that the net position has increased about 34 million. That's our projection from 2024 to 2025 year end. And then the cash, similarly, we project to increase about 35 million or so.
Excuse me, Mr. Hartgrove. We are in the process of losing our quorum, which means I need to adjourn the meeting. However, I'm willing to stick around and hear the rest of your presentation after we've adjourned. And I invite any other members of the board to stick around as well. So since we have lost a quorum, we are considered adjourned. All right. Thank you. Proceed.
Oh, okay. President Brandt. Yeah.
Okay, wait until the broadcast is gone. Okay. Which will make it hard to do your presentation, right?
For the folks at home.
Yeah.
We're just about done, too. Yeah, like I was saying, the cash balance is projected to increase about 35 million, and this is the last slide of the presentation. You can see the sewer and the stormwater are certainly leading the pack here. They're continuing to build reserves. Certainly our water department as well, too. They have several projects on the horizon there. Parking has increased their net position, and their cash is increasing, closer to the target. And solid waste has a slight decrease as well, too. And then our smaller fund in CPED is pretty much holding steady. So again, the enterprise